Okay, listen. I'm going full offensive as you can see on my trait setup. We've got impatient, we've got manic and methodical. Um, in a little bit later, I'm gonna be explaining why I'm using these traits instead of defensive ones like usual berserkers do. As you can see here, I'm also using Caldera Black for a little buff, a little boost to my combat and basically everything. So, let's get started. Let me just explain why I'm using these traits. The methodical I'm gonna be using for damage. Let's say there's a tier 2 weapon and it doesn't have enough damage to reach 80 damage to one hit most things. I will use methodical to basically give it a little bump so that it could reach that damage gap I'm trying to fill in, along with Caldera Black, which will also put a little damage boost for me. Now the impatient, I mean you already know why I'm using impatient. It's to chase gunmen because as you know, every gunman that you try and chase backpedals, especially the AK. They backpedal fast. Now why I'm using Manic is because I could kill enemies way faster with one hit weapons. Let's say Maria, it has already really fast swing speed, but if you add Manic, it'll be fucking insane. Um, and then obviously killing enemies as fast as possible. Now, I mean, there is advantages to slowing down, but the advantages to speeding it up is that enemies can never group up on you properly. Let's say only two enemies can group up at a time, or they'll die immediately. Okay, so now that I've explained all my traits, I'm gonna go into a few tactics so I can help you kill enemies as fast as possible. Because this is an offensive guide, so you could always go with executioner or another weapon and not use manic. That's also fine, but you gonna need hella IFAKs for that shit. Them first aid kits and all that. See, this is what I was talking about. Having low swing speed will give the enemies the ability to group up on you. Now, this is fine in the case of Executioner and Decimator, since Decimator can take out large crowds even if the swing speed's low, and Executioner can take 5 health each enemy, so it's a pretty good payoff. But even if you're Berserker, yeah, you'll still get 9, so it's a pretty good deal even if you decide to not use Manic. Okay, enough about fucking goofy traits or whatever the fuck they work with. Let's get to the battle tactics I was talking about. Alright, so first battle tactic I'm gonna teach you if you have a one hit weapon is prioritizing. Prioritizing enemies are fucking essential. You'll see people do this everywhere, well, people that are usually male at least. They'll prioritize certain targets because some are more dangerous than others, while other scavs are just left behind since they're not really dangerous. But they do still get killed, but they're the last ones that get killed. Bro, I didn't fucking notice this when I was fucking gathering the footage. Okay, so yes. Anyway, prioritizing. You'd want to prioritize the most dangerous melee enemy. Let's say there's a baseball bat guy and there's a police baton guy. You'd want to target both of them. And if there's ever a gunman, you should target the melee ones first because they will ultimately deal more damage. You really shouldn't worry about just pistol shots. You really shouldn't worry about that yet. What you should worry about is if they do a heavy hit or not, the melee scavs. Okay, now let me tell you the definition of onslaught. Onslaught is basically when you target strong melee enemies. I mean the strongest, like let's say a sledger or a pitchfork user, which have really high health. And if you target them first, that's basically what I'm telling you right now. So, okay, so this battle tactic will help you chew on the tanks of the melee tanks of the scav team, and if you're in a team, you could actually use this tactic if you can one-hit enemies that is really tanky. You can use this tactic to help your teammates digest other enemies much faster. Second tactic, let's call it whizzing, as in WHIZZING. Okay, so basically, whizzing is targeting ranged opponents. Let's say Pistol Man, or those guys with the M1911 Colts. I think that's the gun name. I forgot. Or those AKs. Remember what I told you? Those AKs backpedal fast. You gotta catch up to them and kill them immediately. So, now that I've told you the two battle tactics, you should be good to go. But remember, these aren't just solid set tactics. What I mean by that is you gotta alternate between the two. Okay? If you think something does more damage, let's say the gunman will eventually do more damage to you, then take him out first. If you think the melee will do more damage, take him out first. Now I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope y'all learned something new from me in Decaying Winter. I'll see y'all in the next one.